what we've been following, being that we're in the Omer period between Passover and Shavuot, each week of the 7 weeks of the Omer is a particular midah, or a particular quality, sphira, or divine quality that we're asked by tradition to reflect upon in our own being. So what we'll be doing this morning is I'm going to share a little bit about the upcoming midah of the week, and then really also explore a little bit how to pay attention to that through our own meditative practice. So this coming week, beginning on Thursday night, we start the week of Yesod. And Yesod means foundation. And really what I think is, when we talk about foundation, we mean the foundation for relationship. And that is just everything in Judaism and everything in life is all about relationship. It's the reality of echad, of oneness, of interconnection, is that we are, and everything is in relationship. We can be not awake or present to the fact that we are in relationship with everything. We can also be in relationship in a way that is very self-absorbed or focused or manipulative, or we can be in relationship for its own sake, for the simple fact of connection. And so when we talk about Yesod as the foundation for relationship, another word for Yesod is integrity. Integrity. And the biblical figure, there are biblical figures that in Kabbalah that are associated with each one of these divine qualities. And the biblical figure for Yesod is Yosef, or Joseph, Hatzadik. And the sense is that really Joseph had this very deep sense of his own integrity. And, we see where it plays out with Potiphar's wife, in that he was tempted in so many ways she wanted to sleep with him. He could have kind of advanced in his own kind of status, but instead he stuck to what his own integrity was. He resisted it. As a result, got put in prison because she fabricated a story about him. But really the sense is integrity. And what does that mean, integrity? It means that I have a solid sense of who I am, what my values are, and what I stand for. And and that is the foundation. That is the foundation for any relationship. I can only be in real connection and relationship with another if I am solid in my own sense of who I am, what I care about, what's important to me. Because if I'm still really kind of searching around and not clear about that, then my connections with other people are usually not for their own sake. They're in some ways, we want to impress, we want to use the other person in some particular way. We're seeking some kind of affirmation for something that we don't feel inside. And so there isn't the ability to have real relationship where I become awake to the connection with somebody else, completely based on our own, the truth of who we are together. So Yesod also becomes the symbol for Yesod is also Brit Milah. And Brit Milah, or circumcision, becomes the symbol for not only connection, right, at least from a male perspective, from that intimate kind of connection that can happen, but it's also, Brit Milah is about incredible vulnerability, right? It's exposed. And even in the Torah, the way the Torah speaks about vulnerability is it says you need to circumcise your heart. You need to circumcise your heart, which is to say that so much of the time, the way that we are in relationship is that we're guarded. And our whole personality and our whole sense of who we are is we are cut off in some ways from other people. We have a layer around that. And so the idea is that if we are going to have real connection, real relationship, we have to remove that barrier from our heart and be able to be who we are in our vulnerability. And as we know, that takes a tremendous amount of integrity. The willingness to be vulnerable means I have to feel solid in my own sense of who I am, that I can risk whatever the reaction or the response is to my vulnerability. It's not going to blow me over. So that's a little bit about Yesod. And we're going to take that and now try to begin to practice that in our own meditative awareness. So I want to invite you here to be in a comfortable space. We're going to start out our meditation with a nigun, a melody. And if you've been with me before in this kind of thing, you'll hear my standard spiel, which is that I know it's a little bit awkward being in your own home and singing out loud. It works really only to have everybody muted and just my voice, because with the Zoom, everything gets very delayed and doesn't sound very good. So it's really about, even though we're all together singing, to let yourself be a little bit vulnerable, even though we're not hearing you, you're muted, but to just sing in your home and feel the vibration and the experience of the melody, and let that be the transition that takes us to a different state of awareness. So as soon as you get it, you can join me. Ya, 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 ya. Ya, dai, 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 dai. Ya, ya. So if your eyes aren't already closed, I invite you to close them. Let your body be in a comfortable position, one that you can sit fairly still for a period of time. And become aware of the position of your body in space. Notice the contact between your bottom and the cushion or the bed or the chair. Your feet on the floor or where your heels meet the surface. Notice the distance between the bottom of your spine and the top of your head. Pay attention to the space between your ears. Notice the way your arms hang out of your shoulder blades and the resting place of your hands. See if you can be aware of the entire outline of your body in space, the sensations that come through contact with the different surfaces. Notice the feeling of air as it touches the various parts of your skin that are exposed. And as you pay attention to the totality of your body as it occupies the space in this moment, let your awareness also include the movement of breath, noticing where the air enters your nostrils or your mouth. Pay attention to the expansion of the chest or the belly with the inhale. And then notice the place where the air leaves the body and it belly or chest gently contracts until the exhale reaches its maximum length and then switches over into an inhale, following the cycle once more. Feeling the strength of your decision to be present here in this moment. The desire to want to grow and open and be more fully present in this moment, to gain greater insight into ourselves and the world. Let that motivation, your motivation for being here, drive your decision to be attentive to breath and body in this moment. There's nowhere else we need to be. You can completely let go of everything else except breath, body, this moment. And as you pay attention to the movement of breath, notice how it's the mechanism that brings the outside inside and the inside outside. The mechanism of relationship with what is inside us to what is outside us. Give and take of oxygen, of breath. The relationship that sustains our every moment. And with every inhale, let the world come into you. All of the sounds, the air, the world that surrounds you in this moment. With every inhale, let it come into you, unguarded, trusting. And with every exhale, let what is inside just pour out. Into the world. On a very physical level, it's just the exhale that pours out into the world, the air, the breath. But you can also imagine that everything inside just pours out. And with every breath in, the world comes in, affects you, changes you. And with every exhale, your reality in this moment shares with the world. Everything comes in on the inhale. There are no distractions, voices, phones. You let the world in. And with the exhale, everything pours out. There's a trust that's involved, a sense of integrity, of knowing that who we are inside will not be compromised in any kind of negative way if we let the world in, unguarded, on the inhale. And the trust that even in this moment, as we let everything pour out of us, that we will not be depleted, that the inhale will come again and we will be sustained, and we can completely let go on the exhale. And the more you give yourself to the letting in and pouring out, the more that the boundary of what we consider ourself, the boundary that we usually define by the outline of our skin and our bone, begins to become more transparent, begins to dissolve in our awareness. And all there is breath pouring into breath. Let breath pour into breath. the most fundamental relationship. Letting any idea of who you are disappear and trusting that this allows you to experience the most fundamental, foundational relationship that we are a part of. I'm going to be quiet now for a period of time. And if you find your mind wandering, thinking about this or that, bring it back to awareness of your body in space, paying attention to the contact and the pressures of your bottom and the seat and the cushion, your feet and the floor, the distance of the bottom of your spine and top of your head, the outline of your body. Begin to become aware of breath moving in and out, and then pour yourself into the awareness of letting the world in and then pouring it out. And this is a practice. We may have to bring our attention back to the instruction hundreds of times. That's exactly how it's supposed to be. Letting our decision and the strength of our motivation to grow allow us to continue to come back, to do teshuvah, to return over and over again to this foundational relationship. as you continue to be present with breath and body sensation, taking in and pouring out. It's also worth mentioning, today being Lag BaOmer, is Hod Sheba Hod, that we are completely in the space of being present with what is and letting it shine in all of its glory. It's almost as if there was any filter that we would have over this moment, that we would be able to let it drop and experience sounds and breath and body in its full radiance and glory. To tap into the knowing that everything in our field of experience is so alive, it's radiating. And all we have to do is drop the filters, the labels, and experience things as they are. Yai dai 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 dai. Yai dai 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 dai. Yai dai 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 dai. Yai dai. Yai dai 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 dai. Yai dai 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 dai. Yai dai 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 dai. Yai dai 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 dai. Yai 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 yai. Yai dai 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 dai. Yai dai 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 dai. Yai 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 yai. Yai dai 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 dai. Yai dai yai dai. So, welcome back. If you've been with us during these weekly meditations, you'll notice that this is a meditation that's based on awareness, on paying attention to what is present. And that awareness is so multifaceted that we can pay attention to different parts of the mechanism of awareness, whether it's the give and take, the sense of relationship with the world inside and outside that we were present to today, whether it's we brought in a little bit of that quality of Hod in honor of Lag BaOmer, to be able to be with what is in its essence, in its suchness, hopefully without the labels that we give it, as in breath or lawnmower or any of the things that come in our field of awareness, that we can give it a label and then stop experiencing the vibrancy and the awareness of it. Or whether it's being able to just even pay attention to the choice to direct our attention right here, as opposed to just letting our minds go wherever they will, which they will. But there's also that element of continuing to choose to bring it back and paying attention to that aspect of awareness. What we're also talking about here is not even though we played a little bit in the meditation with letting boundaries, the boundary between outside and inside, be a little more transparent, a little bit more dissolving, to have just breath and breath. Really, as we've talked about before, boundaries are important. And especially in relationship, we can connect more fully with another person when we have a solid sense of our own boundary. We can allow vulnerability to be present and open with another person when there's a real sense of our own boundary. And now what we're bringing, Marla, is on a very physical level, the boundaries that we have, especially on breath, are a little bit tighter, a little bit, stronger here. And so how do we continue to stay in relationship? How do we continue to allow there to be vulnerability, our own sense of integrity in the world, to be able to move out and do that, even as we have a stronger barrier in some ways. Maybe one way to frame or talk about what relationship with God means is an honoring of the interconnection that you are a part of, so that even when there's strong feelings that come up, for you to honor your relationship with God means that you have to find a way to be with the truth of what those strong feelings are in a way that doesn't, that honors the connections with other people that you're a part of. Yeah, so remember, everything, probably a mantra that we can come back to, or a saying that feels very core about this, is in regards to meditation and to life. We become what we practice. We become what we practice. So in this case, the question of practicing, being able to let in and out and feel a general sense of, when I'm letting in, when I'm saying, I'm going to let the world in, nothing needs to be a distraction. I don't need to protect in this moment of meditation. I can trust that my foundation is strong. That is also what we bring to our relationships. When we're with somebody else, our ability to really hear somebody, even if they're going through some strong emotions or whatever it is, instead of, immediately putting up the walls and trying to, and being defensive and protecting, is a way to say, I value our connection here. I value your truth of what you're bringing forward. And I have enough trust in my own integrity and solidity that I can really be present for whatever is going on with you right now. And that ability to do that and to honor those, especially relationships and strong feelings, comes from practicing being able, even in a moment, letting in and out when there isn't those kinds of strong, intense things going on in a meditation. So when we come into them, we're able to be present in that way. Part of the practice of meditation that we usually share together here is that, and I'm going to say it this way and then I'm going to explain myself. There are no distractions. There are no distractions. And that doesn't mean that there isn't lots of stimulus that is coming and going just like life, whether we're on a Zoom call, whether we're out there. Because I have 3 kids, when I meditate in the morning, I sit in the living room and there's chaos that's going on around me. And what the practice is how can I be with the unfolding of reality in a moment in a way that embraces all of it, in a way that something becomes a distraction only when I have a certain thing that I'm trying to pay attention to. And if life is not supporting me in paying attention to that one thing, then everything else in life is going to be a distraction. So what it means to say that there are no distractions is to say that I'm not going to focus on one thing at the exclusion of everything else. Instead, I'm going to absolutely welcome every part of my experience in a moment. And the way that we do this, and it takes practice. I just want to acknowledge it takes practice. It doesn't happen right away, but the metaphor that a lot of people are familiar with me using is to, in a moment that you're paying attention in meditation, to be open to the divine symphony. That just like when we listen to an orchestra, yes, we can focus on this instrument or that instrument, but ultimately when we try to open our attention and hear everything at once, that's where we get the majesty of the music, right? Everything comes together at once. Mm-hmm. What would it be like to try to approach any given moment with the idea that everything that we are experiencing is like an instrument in a symphony? My breath is an instrument. The lawnmower out there is an instrument. My kid yelling over here is an instrument. You know, whatever it is, the pain in my back, the sensation that's going is an instrument. Can I open myself and hear the totality of what's happening without having to push anything away, to completely be in the symphony of each moment as it's evolving and changing? And part of that practice, the more that we're able to do that in a place where there is, you know, nothing that we have to respond to like we do in life, but a place where we can meditate, the more that as we go through life, we can be more open and accepting of that which is around us. What we're really looking at is and I just want to say, it will be natural. It's a natural piece of the mind to focus on the violin or the oboe or this. We're going to find as we practice that, oh my gosh, my mind, I'm so aware of this pain in my shoulder or whatever, and it's going to captivate me. It's going to captivate me. And instead the practice continues to be, okay, I'm not going to push that instrument away. I still want to hear that instrument, but can I hear the rest of the instruments at the same time? So it's not just my shoulder, but it's everything else that's going on as well. Thank you, everybody. Really appreciate you joining this morning. It's a wonderful way to start off the day. Wish everybody a great week. And until we meet again.